Hello and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Irina and welcome to the Lockdown interview series. Today, it's my pleasure to speak to Roger Bloem, who is currently in Amsterdam, I believe, and he's a man of many talents. Roger is a restaurant marketeer. He runs a marketing agency for restaurants in Amsterdam. He is also a food blogger who writes and publishes a lot about food, as well as a foodie angel for Menu Me Restaurant Guide, also in Amsterdam. Welcome, Roger. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much. That's a great introduction. Thank you so much.
Well, great. My pleasure to have you here, and our pleasure to listen to your experiences and your thoughts on lockdowns around the world, and in particular in Amsterdam, based on your experience. Yep. So let's start maybe with the basic question. So Roger, what is it that you do and what is your business is about?
Yeah. So, well, you already said I'm a marketeer. I work as a marketeer for different restaurants and bars in Amsterdam. Mm-hmm. I'm also a food blogger. I run a platform called Cityguys, mm-hmm. and I run it together with two other friends. Mm-hmm. We use it as our marketing playground. So there's no business model in running the platform, but for us, it's a way to do market research and to do our job better. And this year, well, I've been mainly working for restaurants that are doing great during the lockdown, to be honest, which is very funny to say. Because most of the times when you talk about restaurants and bars in this time, we all think about how hard it is to survive. Mm-hmm. But I think we managed to do some good things this year, especially for one of my main clients, which is restaurant Dooren, based in Amsterdam in the Jordan.
Right. So in a way, you have almost 2 points of views for this series. You could talk about your own business and lockdown mm-hmm. strategies that you deployed with your partners. But you also, I suppose, have various lessons from the restaurants that you're dealing with that you could share also with us as to how they are dealing with the lockdown.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So let's take these two streams. First of all, from your own point of view in business, what was your lockdown response with your partners in terms of managing your business, your marketing business?
So I worked also for a couple of fast food brands. And well, the thing is, I was working as a consult for a big organization, and well, they didn't need me anymore because we were planning to have like the busiest year ever with all the events that were planned. So that business dropped for me, and then I 100% focused on like the traditional restaurants that had to change in a lot of ways because they had to close, of course, which means you have to set up a lot and communicate a lot. And actually there was so much work involved in just setting those things up and actually doing it in a way that you're experiencing a restaurant at home. That I had, well, I was more busy than I ever expected in the first place. Yeah.
Interesting. So that has presented a bit of an opportunity for you and your partner.
Yeah. Well, I always try to think in opportunities and to think like what's the next step and how is this going to evolve our business. And it's when your mindset is like that, you get really funny thoughts and you get really positive sometimes. So I just try to keep the positive high and make sure that the entrepreneurs and restaurant owners that work with me are getting in the same vibe.
Right, that's very good. Did you have to learn new things? Were you ready with your partners to take on this new challenge?
Well, there was more online advertising involved than we normally have to do. So that was interesting to, like, I think we worked on that skill to get most of things like email lists that we had from restaurants, or like the audience we normally reach through social. So I think that was the thing I had to like learn the most in, to be honest. Yeah.
And is it what was most required by the restaurants? Is it where their need was during the lockdown? Was it their main pressure point that you were helping them with, or is there anything else that restaurants asked from you?
Well, I'm positioned as a marketeer, but my whole experience from I worked in fast food like almost all my life. And I had every single job you can think of. So I worked in the kitchen, behind the counter, as a restaurant manager, as a marketeer. So I worked at Burger King, and I started as a Whopper maker, and I ended up being the marketing manager. And to have that experience and put that experience over an original, like a normal restaurant, is very interesting when you want to sell home delivery boxes in 100 times, or even more than that per day. So from that point of view, I helped also a lot with the processes, and just making sure that what we sell is also we could also deliver in, and make sure like there's not too much pressure on the operation. So there was a lot of like prediction forecasting, make sure there's enough cheese bought, these kind of things.
Right.
So
in a way, supply chain would have to be there to deliver the service that you were selling. So it's kind of like a snowball effect, right?
Well, the thing is, like, as a marketeer, like when you market something, the product has to be great. Otherwise, well, you're only selling it once. So I always feel very responsible that when you're talking about a new product, it's like you do it right. Otherwise, like it's only a one.
Did you have at any point, did you have to educate restaurants as to how to market products, or were they ready to accept your advice unquestionable, or did you have to sort of teach them a little bit about the whole process?
I think it was learning on the job, to be honest. Like, we started in the first lockdown with Dooren as with Thuis met Dooren, which was it was a restaurant experience at home. So it wasn't like delivery portions, but it was actual fine dining at home, and people had to prepare it in their kitchen themselves. Like 80% was done, and then 20% they had to do it themselves. In order to make sure that everybody like had the same result as in the restaurant, we shot per dish an instruction video, and you were cooking along with the chef Dennis Huey. And then the package included like a menu card, a candle. We had a Spotify playlist where songs were mixed with restaurant noise, where the chef was coming through your table and asking you if you needed more wine, and then reminding himself like, oh, you have to do this yourself, like these kind of funny things. And like when we started in like March, April, of course, like we tried to do it as best as possible, but if I look at the product in December, we evolved so much, like production wise, with the videos, with the playlists, with like the amount of menus that we offered. So I think like it's good to have a partner to, how do you say that in English? Well,
To
to brainstorm.
feedback, to discuss.
Exactly. Yeah. And well, I think this product evolved like in a ridiculous amount, and we saw that back and during Christmas when everybody was aiming to do this at home, and I think we did really well.
Sounds really interesting. We will return to your experience with Dalder in a moment, but since we are right now in the interesting place to identify 3 learning points that you would take from the journey in March until the journey in December, what would you say were the 3 key things that you've learned as a business in managing this restaurant transformation? What would you identify as important things?
So you mean for me towards the restaurants?
To see how they've evolved and how you have helped them in their challenge of transformation. So what are the 3 key points that you could single out as important in this learning journey of making the better product, as you say now?
Yeah. Let me think about that. Because I must not. Let me make sure I got the question right. So, for me as a business towards the restaurants, I think I'm always aiming to add value, like every month again, so that people know why they hire me. Like otherwise, like it has to make sense to hire me to like evolve your product or whatever, and make sure like in the end of the day you sell more packages or get more visitors or whatever. So you have to have KPIs and deliver them. I think for me that's the most important part, and I always aim to have it to have it as clear as possible for the restaurant owner why he's working with me. And for the restaurant owner, I think for us, the most important thing was to always be in top of mind of the customers. Mm-hmm. So we were evolving like all the time, setting up new collaborations, making sure you're changing the menu like every 2 or 3 weeks. Make sure you read all the feedback and act on that. So like we developed a vegetarian menu very fast, like those kind of things to listen to the customer and just make sure. Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah, thank you.
And the last thing I think, so actually, like if you have a restaurant that is running pretty well, there is so much information that you can use to actually sell your product. Like for instance, I use the reservation system to see who made reservations last year, and I used all those email addresses to make sure like everybody knew that this restaurant was doing this. So, and there are a lot of ways to get in contact with your customers. So,
very interesting. Yeah, I think great, very great 3 points, great lessons.
Thank you.
Now I would like us to swap heads, thinking heads, and now think on behalf of your customer that you've already mentioned, Restaurant Dalder, that you've been working with. And so let's look at the lockdown situation from their point of view. So what was their lockdown strategy? How did they, as a restaurant, respond to the fact that they were closed? What were they aiming to do with that situation?
Yeah. So at the first lockdown, everybody, like all the restaurants started with delivery. And in Amsterdam, everybody called it the same. It was Restaurant Rijk started as first, and they called it Rijks at Home. And then every restaurant just started with their restaurant name and then at home. And everybody was like cooking dishes, and you would get it warm or cold, but it was already finished. And for Daalder, we went another way. We called it Thuis met Daalder, to make sure it's different than everybody else. And we really wanted to have the fine dining experience at home, which I mentioned earlier. So from me, like, of course, as a food blogger, I tried like all the different menus. And sometimes I had like the most delicious dish, but it was served in like a cardboard box. And it doesn't matter if it's even from a 3-star Michelin chef. If it's from a cardboard box, I don't have the experience or the feeling that I'm having a night out with my girlfriend or with my friends. So in order to make sure we fix that, we for Daalder, we packaged everything in little containers, and you had to assemble this at home. That's where we started, with also like the YouTube playlist and the Spotify playlist, as I mentioned earlier. And from there, we evolved actually that whole the whole Thuis met Daalder experience. So what we saw is we added a 3-course menu, like not too much after, since there were a lot of people also wanted to try these menus like on a Monday or a Tuesday or a Wednesday. But they didn't want to spend like 59 euros on a menu on a Monday. So we added that, and from there, in the second lockdown, we added delivery in the whole nation. So we used a partner, which is called Fresh and Fine, and they delivered the packages with a cool transport. Like, is that the right word in English?
So I guess some refrigerator or food preservation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So we made sure like we actually had the potential of all foodies in the Netherlands as our potential customer, instead of just aiming for Amsterdam people that are able to pick it up. So from there we grew, and like the last couple of months, we did a lot of partnerships. We did one together with Rijks, which made we made a box called Rijksdaalder, which is a play on words on like a Dutch coin we had in the past. And during New Year, we also did a collaboration with Taiko, which is a restaurant in Consortium Hotel. And like doing these kind of collabs also like pushes you to create new menus, to think outside the box again, and also to present something new that like everybody is interested in. So yeah, I think we did.
It sounds like Daalder was approaching it from a very creative place, and they wanted to create an experience for their customers at home as opposed to just deliver food.
Exactly.
Yeah. And what is also, I think, interesting, what I'm hearing in your story, is that they've also entered collaborations with other restaurants. So to build on each other's sort of interesting points and give that experience to the customer at the end. It's very interesting.
Exactly.
In the coming months, what are their priorities? What are they looking forward to achieve, sort of looking into the future?
Yeah. Well, as a marketer, you always try to look into the future, of course, and predict as best as possible, which is very hard at the moment, of course, with the lockdown situation. But then again, like, we all know it's going to be Valentine's Day. We all know it's going to be Easter. And for me, these are very interesting days to like come up with new products and like a new menu to make sure like you give people a reason to try your product again and to do a 5 or 8-course dining at home. So I'm working on that at this point. Also, I hope the hotels can open again this year. We did with Dowler also 2 pop-ups in hotels when people were not able to eat in a restaurant, but were able to eat in a hotel, just to make sure like the staff is working and well, you can like still have your loyal customers come to your restaurant in a way. So I'm working on that, and yeah, I hope we can open in like March or something, like when the terraces are open again. And then of course it's like, well, it's not business as usual, but then again, like we have to have a strategy for when we can open again with the restaurants, and make sure like we make it the best possible month we can ever have in March. Yeah.
Sure.
So I'm just planning on that, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very good. I mean, very interesting points, obviously, to consider as a business. In achieving that and in looking ahead, again, from the Dalders point of view, what are the 3 things that they need the most at the moment? Are there certain, where is the help most wanted for them at this point in time?
Well, for me, it's just so we already had a loyal customer base, and with Thuis met Daalder, we made sure like we grew that base, because, well, to be honest, now you were able to try 5 courses Daalder for only 59 euros instead of like the amount you pay in a restaurant. So it's a cheaper step in. So we're building that customer base and creating like a bigger audience of fans. And I think from there, like there's so much room for growth still. So I'm just working on that, to be honest. So what we'll do is we use the email list and audience that already tried Thuis met Daalder, to make sure like they try a new menu again, to just keep the revenue stream going. And then from there, I'll make sure like they have a great experience and share it on social or share it to their friends, to make sure like we also reach a new group of customers. And of course, like the word to mouth communication is like one of the best things you can have, but we're also like planning on just pushing it online. We use advertisement also, make sure like we reach the right audience through Facebook and Instagram, which are still the main platforms to make sure to tell that story. Yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting 2 stories that you've just shared with us, one from the Dalders point of view and one from your marketing agency point of view. I think these were all the questions that I wanted to discuss with you in this interview space. Thank you so much, Roger, for being with the Lockdown Interviews series and for sharing your experiences with us. Thanks to everybody for watching and for sharing this video. This has been made possible through the Lockdown Interview series and Menu Me Guide a Restaurant. So thank you so much. Good luck with everything that you want to achieve and Daalder wants to achieve in the coming months. And
awesome.
Yeah, and see you soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.